Good morning and welcome again to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint podcast. My name is Dr. Jake Latimer. I am here with Crystal Jones.
Hi,
Thank you.
Jake. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Crystal is the founder and owner of JRC Industries. And I think the last time we spoke, you mentioned that you have the largest water company as far as filtration in Montgomery County. Is that correct?
So yes, in Montgomery County, we are dominating the area in water filtration. And within our dealership, we have won 3 times in a row, number one for our dealership. And it's just amazing to see that happen.
That's fantastic. So we're going to dive deep today with Crystal. And, you know, sometimes, just so you know, we send a lot of questions over ahead of time. So at least they get a good feel for what we're going to speak about. And I know when Crystal sent some of the stuff over to us, I want to first and foremost say she's very courageous because some of the topics we're going to talk about today, I've never talked about ever on our show before. And it struck it went straight to my heart in this regard. And like I told you, it kind of made me tear up a little bit. So I want to just commend you for coming on the show and talking about some of these things today.
Thank you. And I hope that this will help someone else.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your childhood for a little bit, Crystal, if you would. You grew up in Shamrock, Texas. You were raised by your grandparents. They, showered you with love, but you saw some of their struggles along the way. How did that shape you? How did that mold you into who you are today?
Watching my grandparents, at the time I didn't know, but watching them struggle, and they were way up in their age and working. My grandmother was elderly herself, and she would help take care of, she worked for an adult living center, going in and taking care of older people her age.
Yeah.
And so my grandfather, he would paint and he would cook at the U Drop Inn in Shamrock, Texas. And I would go with him and help him and watch him. And it was hot. But realizing that the most exciting time was towards the end of the month because we were counting days to get to the first of the month. And the first of the month is when it was a payday for my grandmother and grandfather.
Right.
And the most exciting time for me was standing in line in Shamrock. They had a commodity line. And so this is where they would have powdered milk, peanut butter, cheese. The block cheese was my favorite. And so looking back now, the little things that I was excited for that our kids today have no idea where we came from. And it can make you or break you. You could either want to get out of that situation when you get older, or you could just stay there and think that that's all that life has for you.
Yeah.
So watching my grandparents struggle, it lit a fire within me to want to get out of that situation.
Yeah. So can you tell the audience where exactly where Shamrock, Texas is in Texas?
So Shamrock is in the Panhandle area. It's like an hour and a half to Amarillo and about 15 minutes to Oklahoma. So
population-wise up there is not...
Oh, it's not
very dense.
Tumbleweeds are more than people.
Yeah. Understood. And I know that you had mentioned that at age 14, you were moving from home to home.
So at age 14 was a very tough time for me. My grandmother, she had 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. Okay. And she was married to my grandfather at 12. And so she picked cotton with her mom and just very, very poor. And she was tired. And so, but bringing my sister and myself along the way from the hospital, my birth mom kept my sister for a couple of years. My grandmother sheltered us a lot. She just didn't want us to be spending the night with a lot of people. And we went to Calvary Christian Fellowship. Brother Joe Jernigan was our pastor. And they loved us just as much as my grandparents did. And so my grandmother, she would always let me go and stay with some friends there, stay overnight. I went to the public school system there in Shamrock, and I had a really good friend that I wanted to go and stay the night with. And I begged my grandmother to go, and I begged her. I mean, I was relentless on begging her. And she said, Chrissy, no, I don't want you to stay the night. February 19th, 1993 was when I was raped. I ended up staying the night, and there was an older person there, just turned 18, and it changed my life forever. So I ended up staying the night. I told my friend told her mom, the parents, everybody was having a good time drinking. And so I just laid there in bed. I didn't realize what happens when the first time that you had sex happens to a girl, that
Right.
you bleed.
Right.
And so I thought I was literally dying because my grandmother did not talk about this kind of stuff.
Sure. It was
Okay.
taboo back then. Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And so I laid there all night long praying to God, how in the world was I going to be okay? Was I dying? And after it happened to me, he left. My ribs, everything was so sore. And right when the sun came up, I walked 3 miles home. And my grandma and grandpa, they were awake. They get up early, and they were cooking breakfast, having their coffee. I walked across the yard. I walked in the front door, and my grandmother said, Chrissy, what are you doing here? And I lied to her and told her that I put a tampon in. And she said, I told you about those things. You ain't supposed to use those things. I was in hopes that she would take me to the doctor without me telling her what happened.
Right.
So the first thing that I did, the smell that I smelled was his scent, and I could not get it off of me. I went straight to the bathtub. I took a bath. I scrubbed. I brushed my teeth over and over and over, and I went and laid down. And then I started feeling like I needed to tell my grandma. So she would walk up and down the hallway, and she'd come in, and she's like, Chrissy, you okay? And I said, Grandma, can you please come sit down beside me? And so she sat down. Now, Brother Joe's brother was a town sheriff. And so I told my grandmother that I was raped, and she had this nervous twitch about her. Her face was jumpy. And she said, Chrissy, who did this to you? And I told her the name. And I said, please don't tell anyone, Grandma, please. I need to go to the doctor. And she got up, she went out the room, and maybe 30, 40 minutes later, I saw Brother Joe and his brother walk across the yard. And I knew at that moment that Brother Joe, he would make sure that I was going to be okay and comfort my grandma. And so he took me to Amarillo, to the rape crisis clinic, and I gave all the information to the police officer, and they did a rape kit on me. And the whole thing almost was just like a kind of like I was in my outer body experience happening to me at the time.
Sure.
I just really didn't understand what was happening. But I really, truly didn't understand what was going to happen to me after that. So I didn't want to live there and go back, because now the whole town, I mean, it was an uproar. So I told my grandmother I just didn't want to stay. And she called her son, and my aunt come down, and she picked me up. And then that's where I started moving. I lived there for a while, and that's where I started living at different houses.
I can't imagine. I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry.
Looking back, how that happened to me, it empowered me in so many ways to today.
Yeah. You alluded to, when we were going back and forth on the questions and whatnot, you alluded to that you were having to barter for shelter and stuff like that. Can you elaborate into what some of that was?
So I only went to 7th grade. I was promoted to 8th grade. And I lived with my aunt and uncle. And my uncle was always the savior in the family. And it seems like that a lot of cousins would always end up living there. And maybe my aunt was just kind of tired of raising other people's children. Yeah. And once I finished 7th grade, she brought in a whole bunch of homeschooling books and said, this is going to be your school where you're going to go to. Mm-hmm. You're going to do these books. And I said, who's going to teach me? And she said, the books. I mean, the answer was in the back of the books, and they were used books from her friends. I remember at that time feeling so disconnected I was already, when I moved to Cleveland, having to go to a different school. Shamrock is all like Flintstone days, and coming closer towards Houston, it was just so fast paced and so even the music is so different, I was scared going into Cleveland school. And not only that, there was a lot that I didn't realize I was going to learn at such an early age, like plumbing work, cleaning and cooking, because all I wanted to do was make my aunt proud and happy and live there longer. I didn't want to move back to Shamrock. And my heart hurt so bad because I miss my grandparents so much. They were my life. And so it came to a time to where I had to move out. Mm-hmm. And so I moved in with different church families. And I took the things that I learned to cook, clean. I mean, I knew how to clean anyways from my grandparents' house, and just wanted the people, different homes I lived in, like me and let me stay longer. And there was such a hole, Jake, that was inside of me about wanting the moms in these homes like me, like their daughter or their son. And so I was grateful that they would let me stay. But even something as silly as Easter and the church that I continued to grow up in was like a Pentecostal church. So Easter was everyone had a new Easter dress. And so the girls in the homes that I was staying in, they would get a new dress and I didn't have one. And that hurt, and Christmas, watching all of them open their gifts and, you could just tell that they were nice. God, here's your gifts, but here's all their gifts, mountains of gifts.
There was this disconnect.
It was a huge disconnection. Yep. And I really didn't even care about the gifts. I just wanted to be loved and wanted and to feel accepted and to they hugged me, but the hug was not the same that they hugged their children.
Yeah, I get it.
And so living in different places, it was very hard for me because there had been so many times that I would lay in the bed crying, like, why is this happening to me? What am I going to do? And God was so strongly there for me. For some reason, I just knew it was going to be okay. And this is where I learned that no one was going to come save me. No one was going to come save me.
That's right.
I had to save myself.
And you had to grow up real early.
Really early.
Yeah.
And real fast. And still didn't even have the therapy, never had the therapy or the help. It's almost kind of like the rape happened, but it's done, over with.
Let me ask you this question real quick, because I know some of the things that I've had to deal with, and I don't know if this is how you dealt with them, but I had to compartmentalize things, put things in boxes, and to be able to move forward. Does that resonate with you?
1,000%.
Yeah.
So I just had to just box it up, and knowing now, but back then I didn't. Each box that you put that in, and you put another box on top, and then another box on top, it just weighs you down.
Yeah.
And it causes some pain, issues in our adult life.
But because we don't really deal with them.
We don't. And we are not allowed to talk about it.
That's right.
Because society today, Facebook, Instagram, everybody wants to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And every single house, you could live in the finest, richest community, but every single house has crap inside of there that they do not talk about.
That's right.
And so that's why I wanted to be surreal today, because there is a lot of people that are going through the same thing, if not worse than what I experienced.
That's right. That's right. I always say we all have cockroaches in our closets. Some just hide them better than other people do. I want to back up a little bit, if you're okay with it, and talk about you met your mother the first time at age 8. You've never met your father before. Also very difficult to kind of, double down on all the things you've had to deal with. How did that also shape your life?
I remember if I met my mother before the age of 8, I can't remember. My grandmother, I thought she was my mom. And I remember this so vividly. They had a sliding glass door. I was in the backyard playing in Shamrock, and she slid the door open. I was playing with my sister, Amy, and she said, "Chrissy, come meet your mom." It stopped me dead in my tracks, and I just looked. And I seen this lady come out, and my grandmother had this muumuu on, and I ran behind her and grabbed onto her, and I looked up at this lady. She's just such a stranger, and I didn't even know who she was. And it was very hard. I was confused at that moment. I felt the abandonment, the very moment. And I felt disconnected. And today, I still struggle with those issues today.
Is your mom alive?
She is not.
She is not. Okay.
She was a hitchhiker.
Okay.
And so she would come in my life. She was fun. She was a lot of fun. We would play hide and go seek. She would sit on the front porch, and she would send myself and my sister to go ring the doorbell and run away. She would just sit there and laugh.
Yeah.
And she was a lot of fun, but she also would get very defensive really, really easy. So as a child, I had to learn to be careful of the things that I would say to her to not upset her.
You had to walk on eggshells in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so she would get mad at just the craziest things and leave, and then wouldn't see her anymore. Another year would go by. She would come in out the blue, just walk in the front door, and I would have to get used to her all over again. That went on until I was probably about 12. And I remember going to bed so excited. It was like Christmas. Can't wait to wake up to play with Wanda. And go to the bedroom where she would sleep, and she's gone. And I would ask my grandmother, I said, where's Wanda at? And she said, Tracy, she's gone. I don't know. She's gone. I remember being 12 years old. I came back into my room. I turned the light switch off. And it was like the light switch went on in my head to where I just wasn't going to be affected by her anymore, because she taunted with me and my sister with us feeling closer to her, and then she would just vanish. And that was the relationship I had with my mom.
Let's talk about for a second how that impacted how you created your family.
At that very moment,
yeah,
I was 12 years old, and I realized that I brought some little napkins here. I realized that I wanted to be the mother that she never was to me. I wanted to be the best mom to my kids. If God ever saw me fit enough to be a mother, I would never let my kids feel the pain that I felt with her.
It drove you, in a sense. Yeah. You know, I and a lot of people don't talk about this, Crystal, but what I've just kind of noticed from, various different people that grew up from bad backgrounds or rough times, you're either a product of your environment, you become exactly like everybody around you, or you do the complete opposite, right? And it drives you because you don't want to be anything like that in life. It's typically nowhere in between. Would you agree with that assessment?
100%. So you're either going to sink or swim. Mm-hmm. For me, I grew up poor, and I wanted to have the LA Gears and the Reebok, and
Sure.
we didn't have that. And I was bullied really bad in school. And so in kindergarten is when, so I had buck teeth, I had gap teeth, and was very poor. Everyone there knew I lived with my grandparents. So I'm writing a book. It's called Stranded Diamonds. And the beginning of it is in kindergarten is when I realized that I was different, and I had no idea. I had no idea that I had buck teeth. I had no idea that I had an ugly haircut. Matter of fact, I brought a little picture. This is my kindergartner picture right here. So you can see my buck teeth. You can see all of this. And
we put it up here on the
I had
Yeah.
free lunches. So in kindergarten there in Shamrock, you did not go to the cafeteria to eat lunch. You ate at your desk.
Uh-huh.
And so the moms of the kids who had more than me, they would make their lunch. That was the thing, and their little notes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, free lunches was not it's not a computer. It's a big, huge card that you have to punch holes in,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And so the free lunch kids, is like maybe 4 or 5 of us had to pull out of our lunch ticket.
It's embarrassing.
It's very embarrassing. Go
Yep.
get your lunch and then come back with this big tray, and sit down. I got called skip track because my teeth were, gapped, and, asking did I get a note from my mom? And at that moment, I don't have a mom. I have a grandmother.
Yeah.
So then that's where Mother's Day was huge for me, because all the kids were making cards for their moms. But the impact that made on me is growing up poor, I did not want my kids ever to experience what I experienced.
Yep.
So it helped me have a fire that was relentless. And I didn't realize what relentless was until I had to.
You know, one of the things that I talk with a lot of my cohorts, a lot of my friends, is that we always like to say, and for most people, you know, motivation is shit and discipline is where it's at, right? But I think when you go through, you know, such a rough life and so many different hardships that you have to kind of put, motivation never dies off. And the reason we always say, you know, that motivation is shit is because most people have a soft life growing up, right? So it's easy to watch a movie, watch Rocky or something like that and get motivated off of that, and then it fizzles out. But with someone like yourself, it's not a movie. This is your life. And so it almost kind of, you have that burning fire almost in your belly. Would you agree that just like it never goes away? And that's what drives you. So you've shared with us about, you know, the rape, not having a relationship with your mother or father, really. Then having to move from Shamrock, and bounce around from house to house. How has, you know, God's love for you helped heal you and, you know, kind of redirect your energy into volunteering at girls' homes?
God's love has helped me immensely. I have a very strong connection with God, and on my weakest days, I'll turn on worship music in my car and just thank Him for. Sometimes I have to sit back and think, I cannot believe that I am where I'm at, but there were great people along my pathway that helped me get here. Mm-hmm. One of the things is that I wanted to go and help in the girls' homes and talk to them. Unknowing to me, going in there the first time, dressed up, those girls thought I was the owner of the facility, not knowing that I was coming in to show them the things that I've learned along the way, like sewing, cooking, cleaning, doing hair. But when I told my story to them about I was raped and about how I didn't know my dad, the relationship that I had with my mom, and looking at their face and the tears rolling down their eyes and hearing their story, I understood at that moment, from not having therapy and having to close that part of my life up, it helped me open that door back up to where I could use what happened to me to be a testimony, so these girls can look at me thinking that I was the owner of the facility, that there's hope for them, that they don't have to go down the same pathway and be in prison like their parents are. Mm-hmm. And the saddest thing was, Jake, is they were showing me letters from prison of both of their parents writing to them, or the letters that they're about to send out. And some of these girls were raped repeatedly over and over, just being drugged around by the mom, you know, living in different homes. And now the state has them and they're at 12 to 17. No one wants them. Yeah. And I think that was the saddest thing to me, is to see these kids. Because once they age out, then they have to go to a halfway home. Mm-hmm. And no one does want them. They want everyone, when they adopt, they want babies. Right. They want younger children to where they could adapt to their culture. Mm-hmm. And they're afraid to bring a 12 to 17-year-old in their home around their children, or to raise someone else's mess, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to take them all home.
Yeah.
And so I started working volunteering in the girls' homes, went from 1 day to 2 days a week. And then the community started hearing about my work that I was doing at the girls' home. They would bring clothes to work for me to give to the girls. And it was like Christmas. I mean, just for the girls to even be excited about panties and bras,
Yeah.
it just, from where our kids are today, it is incredible. And the saddest thing is when they're ready, they know they have to go. Either they're going to mess up and get in trouble to go to the juvenile detention center because they're scared of they're fearful of making that move to the halfway house because they know they have to be an adult now and work. And so they'll mess up and get in trouble. Or I've gotten a phone call and, Miss Crystal, can I come live with you? And that was the hardest thing, is to say no, because I knew that I still was not in a place myself to take any more on.
Yeah.
But I hope that my story to them helped at least one.
Absolutely.
At least one.
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier about no one's coming to save you. That's real. And I think a lot of youth, a lot of these new generations that are growing up right now, especially we see it right here in the Woodlands, right? It's a very soft mentality. They think, they always have, some type of fallback provision where it's your parents or someone who's going to save these individuals. And that's the thing that scares me to death at this day. I told you I have a daughter who's 16. I have a stepson who's 11. And they're just so soft, right? And I don't know your age. I'm 46 going on 47.
Same.
Okay. I remember growing up. Now, I didn't grow up in as rural of areas you did and whatnot. But like, we didn't have internet. There was nothing, you didn't have a smartphone where you could just click Google, and now it's AI and chat GPT will spit something. Phone. Exactly. Yep. And I remember when we did eventually get the internet, dial-up was so slow that
AOL.
AOL. We had something back then called Prodigy. It was before even AOL, and we were down more than you were up. And I think all you could do was like Yahoo Messenger or something like that back in the day. Can you explain what it means when, for you specifically, I know what it means for me, but you specifically, when you realize that no one's there to save you, that you can't, you got to figure things out. You've had to go through all your hardships. What does that mean to you as a person and as an entrepreneur? And then what can the audience decipher from that, and how they need to reshape their mind if they're living in a soft society and if they're kind of soft themselves?
So for me, when I say no one is coming to save me, it's absolute truth. Mm-hmm. At the time when I realized no one was coming to save me, I was already trying to figure it out and finding love from other people's parents. Mm-hmm. Not even going to a day of 8th grade. I knew that you had to have at least a high school diploma or a GED mm-hmm. to go anywhere in life. So there was not a mom to call on for help. Hey, Mom, I'm running a little short on cash this week. Can you help me? Mm-hmm. Or Dad, I broke down side the road. Can you come help me? There was no one to come help me. Mm-hmm. Of course, there could have been people that I called on for help, but that's temporary help. I'm thinking long term, like forever. Yep. And so it was me. Like, I had to be my own Superman. I had to be my own Superman for my kids. And looking at this time, I had 3 kids, and I saw the pathway of my life at that time going down almost the same parallel, just a little bit above poor, but same parallel lines of what I grew up in. And I was not going to go down that way.
Yeah.
And so something within me lit a fire to learn a craft, learn something, or I'm going to have to go back to school. And at this time, I'm way far out of the game. Like, where am I going to go back to kindergarten? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was really tough for me. And I cannot explain it to you. It's a fire that you have burning, that you have let go out and come back in, let go out. But this time it stayed lit.
It never goes away.
It never goes away. It's a burning inside of you that you can't even sleep well at nighttime because you know that you're supposed to be doing something more.
Yep. And I think what's also very challenging too, once you've reached some form or some pinnacle of success where you're more financially stable, where you're more comfortable, right? And you've come so far, it's easy to get complacent during that time frame, But I think the thing that it resonates so much about your story, that I feel as well, is no matter how well you're doing in life, that fire just never, I don't know what it is. It never goes out no matter what, you're just like, and it's not that you're getting greedy or you're pushing to, it just, you can contain it is about all you can do.
For me, it was a fire of being of survival, just surviving. And then it turned into a little more for me, and it just kept growing. So this is whenever I realized, so I was in the water industry, worked for another company, and I became very, very good at what I did, selling. And I met John Kaufman, and he said, CJ, if I met you years ago, you would be a millionaire. And I really didn't understand what he was talking about. John didn't take too kindly to soft people.
Yeah.
He was very tough. I'll tell you to your face if he liked you or not liked you. And John had this beautiful smile, and he said, I'm going to teach you how to sell water. And I said, no, I'm not going to go in people's homes and do this. He said, CJ, you got it. So he took me in, and I watched him the first time that he ever brought me into a home. And I watched him close. He told the people, he said, there's two things you want to tell me. You want to say yes or no. Don't ever say you got to think about it, because I got a sleeping bag and I'll stay here until you'd say yes or no. And I was so embarrassed I wanted to hide underneath the table.
Yeah.
And needless to say, he walked out with the cell. But it taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about that. And as far as moving forward with opening JRC, John had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
I was scared. I actually was going to be a realtor. I was done with water.
You were terrified. It's entrepreneurship is very terrifying. Yeah.
I was scared. And so I called him and I said, I don't know. This ain't going to work. This is not going to work. And he said, what are you scared of, CJ? You scared of yourself? And just something within said, well, what if this does work? What if it does? We're all so used of being negative, because that's what this world's about.
Yeah.
And listening to the peanut gallery.
Yep.
And because people are just not going to say, yeah, you go do that, and happy for you. They become envious and just don't want you to succeed. That's why you have to hang around people that truly want the best for you.
One of the things that I always talk about on the podcast is, show me your 5 friends and I'm going to show you your future.
Correct.
You're the 5 people you hang out with the most. And you hang around. My dad just told me this back in the day. Like I told you, my dad was my best friend, and he used to say, Jake, you hang around shit, you're going to get shit on you, whether you intend to or not. It's going to happen.
And that is so true. That is so true.
You have to be around people that are like-minded, that don't have that jealousy, right? And people who don't try to project their fears on you, right? And their insecurities on you. I can't tell you so many times when I started my business back in the day that I had people that, oh no, you can't do that, or oh, that's great, Jake. You have a few clients on the side. Yeah, it's never going to be sustainable, right? You're making so much money in corporate America. You just need to stay in corporate America. You have good benefits. You have good health insurance. And I realized back then that I just wasn't a corporate guy. It just wasn't me, But we oftentimes, what we do, because of the people that are around us and surround us, we internalize what we see and what we feel around us, and we create our own internal roadblocks along the way.
And it's a little bit of fear.
It can be a lot of fear, right? And so I think what we have to do, and you probably experienced this as well, is you have to pull up the shades, be prepared to look out the window. If it's very sunny, that sun might hit you in the eyes, might blind you for a second, but eventually your eyes are going to acclimate. You're going to be able to see out there. You're going to be able to figure it out.
Sunshades.
It's whatever you have to do. If you have to put shades on, whatever, right? You have to be able to pivot. And I think you have to be able to, you got to have some thick skin, And if you don't, this world's going to chew you up and spit your ass out. But I think what happens with a lot of the youth nowadays is anytime we deal with adversity, the first thing that so many people do out there is they throw their hands up. They throw their hands up. You're supposed to go through hard shit. This shit ain't easy, right? And I'm sorry I use strong language from time to time, but I want what we're talking about, I want that to resonate with people. I want them to understand that this is serious talk. And if they're offended by, someone using the word shit or the F-bomb or something like that, entrepreneurship is not for you. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And so how JRC Industries, once I was speaking with John, working with John throughout the years, he told me, he said, CJ, if you ever meet this guy named Matt Myers, you ever meet Matt Myers, he said, if you ever come in line with him and Matt Myers, you guys you would have a great water dealership. And okay, but I heard about Matt Myers one more time, one more time. And he said, I'm telling you, CJ, I'm telling you. So whenever it came time, I was speaking with John and he helped me along the way. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do this, open up JRC Industries, but I need an installer, I need a manufacturer, I need insurance, I need all of these things, and I want a licensed installer. And so he said, well, I'll help you get one. He goes, man, I wish you'd get a hold of Matt Myers. I said, oh my God, Matt Myers. So being in the water industry, there are a lot of people that you run into, right? So I text this number, didn't get an answer back, and ended up, I went door knocking, okay? Started the company door knocking. That's hard.
That's
really
very difficult.
Very hard, door knocking. So got my first deal, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got everything locked in, got financing available, I got everything. I need a licensed installer. So finally that number texts me and said, call this number. I called the number. First time, no answer. Call the number again. This is Matt. How can I help you? I'm like, what's your name? He said, Matt Myers. Who is this? I'm like, oh my God, I know who you are. And the goosebumps just came all over. And it was like God was telling me, I'm right here with you.
Yep.
And that was a huge, huge alignment for me. And I said, look, I know you don't know me from Adam. I said, but you know John Kaufman? He goes, oh yeah, I've known John since I was a kid. And I said, well, listen, this is a thing. So he just thought he came over and talked to me, and he's thinking himself, this is just another salesman with a dream, right? And he worked for a couple different water companies, installing. And I just looked at him and said, you're not going to be working there long. You're not going to be doing anything long. Without John, without Matt, and everyone that is at JRC, there would not be a JRC. And I always tell, even in the sales department, like sometimes we get tired and we get complacent, you know, and we just go through the motion. Especially, I don't care what industry you're in, you always have to sell something.
You always do.
You sell yourself to get out of bed.
That's right. If you're not selling, you know, we talked about Grant Cardone before we even hopped on here, and one of the things he says is, and you probably remember this, is you have to remove obscurity if you want to, you know, have any sales or have anyone to notice you, right? You can be the greatest in, you know, you can, in my industry, you can be the greatest accountant, you can be the greatest doctor, the greatest attorney, whatever that industry is, right? But if you can't sell yourself, if people don't know who you are, if people can't resonate with your story and what you're trying to accomplish, you're gonna have a hard fucking time paying your bills. It's the reality.
And that's true.
Yeah.
100% true. And so being in sales, the number one thing is that salesmen, they get burnt out. We all get burnt out. We get tired, we get burnt out. And it's just really hard sometimes when you go into another home or you have another client, you're just like tired. You're just kind of like, you just don't care at that moment. You might want to take a nap or take a break or hit the bottle for a minute. But if you leave out the emotion, then you're not going to have the potion.
You're not. I want to back up a little bit, and, you know, you didn't have a family to depend on, but how you run your organization, you realize that it can't be a one-man operation or one-woman operation in your situation. You have to have trust. You have to have loyalty. You have to build a tribe. You have to have the people that surround you that have the same vision. And you can't scale anything. Listen to me here. You cannot scale anything without the right people.
That's right.
Okay. It is a team approach, right? You know, I get it that, you know, I'm going to use a football analogy. I get it that Tom Brady gets all the accolades for winning all the Super Bowls. But that New England Patriot team was very robust, okay? Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches ever. And sometimes that defense is what carried them. If you looked at their ratings for that year that they won a Super Bowl, they were ranked like number 2 in the NFL in that year. It is a team approach. And that's one of the reasons that JRC is so successful today, is because you found the right tribe.
That's right.
To help scale you and get you where you are today.
And it's hard. You may have to go through a lot of people to find that one special diamond.
Yeah.
And, you know, whenever I interview, I really don't care what's on their resume, because people, they always lie. They always lie. So I will do group interviews and tell them, you know, hold your resume up really high if you brought one. They're like, and I'll come out with a trash can, like throw them all away because you all lied on there. I want to know who you are.
That's right.
And so if I have a couple different candidates that say, I want to be a millionaire, great. Let me show me. I'm giving you the vehicle and the tools and everything that you have right here. Go out there and work hard. And it's very hard for today's time to find the people that actually really will get out there and work hard.
It's nearly impossible.
It is nearly impossible. But I can tell you at JRC, if you do not have a heart and you do not care about the company and the people, without the people, because we're in the people industry.
That's right.
And without the people, there would not be us. So take on the love and the care and treat them like family. Yeah. Then that's where you get your referrals from. Right. And if you cannot cultivate around what we have put in place for you, then you cannot work there.
It's I've talked about this before on my podcast, but I'm gonna is bringing this up. Many years ago, it was, I don't know what year it was probably 2020, something like that. But I had a local radio anchor, I guess he was just kind of walking up and down the street for local businesses or whatever. And he asked me if I'd come on his radio show. Okay. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Right. He didn't, not like our conversation today. Like, I didn't know what the questions were going to be. I mean, it was just, you know, I was going to be on the air for, I think it was like it wasn't even a full hour because they had like the commercials in between, so like 35, 40 minutes, something like that. And one of the things he asked me, I remember back then, he says, Jake, let me ask you, what makes your firm different than everybody else's? Why are you different? And I sat there and I pondered for a while. And I said, well, I mean, compliance is compliance. Filing tax returns are tax returns. Accounting work is boring as shit for most people, right? It can be boring for me too. It's just accounting. But behind all those numbers, those are people that we're representing. Those are families. Those are companies where those employees are there, and those employees go home to their families. So it's an honor when someone gives us an opportunity to work with them and their family. I think I just give a shit more than the next person. That's all it is. Honestly, it's that
and
authentic.
It's so true.
It is.
It is very true. I mean, there's been plenty of times. There's a lot of water companies out there that they go door to door. Now, JRC, we don't have to. Our online presence, and that is not just from me or Matt. It is as a team effort. Mm-hmm. From the moment you call in a JRC, Miss Angie's on it. And then from there, they turn into a prospect. Prospect turns into a customer / family member. And then as long as you own that water filtration system, we're going to have a great relationship. Mm-hmm. And so all these other companies that come out there and knock on the door or just go into these customers' homes and they talk to them about their product, 9 times out of 10, they're not licensed. They're not a product of their product.
Yep.
And that's huge, right? And they're telling the customer things that are not true. So with me being a member of the Texas Quality Water Association, along with Matt, we have to follow a code of ethics. Even if there wasn't one here, there's a code of ethics that's built into me. And to Matt and to Angie, Kay, Connor, Jonathan. We all follow the guidelines of loving the people.
I always say this, when you find whoever you're doing business with, when you find someone that you can trust, that it's just not, regurgitated shit coming out of their mouth, basically, they're just not trying to sell you on something, but they have substance, they will back their product, they will back their service, whatever that is. When you find those individuals, because I think the problem, and I would say problem, it is a problem, but I think the issue with, let's just say company A versus company B, and company A has some immediate success, but then kind of fizzles out along the way. Company B, you find out it's been around for 30, 35, 40 years, right? I think the difference between those two is how you view a client or view a customer, okay? And what I mean by that is if you're about front-end money, where it's just completely transactional, where, for your situation, you install a water treating system at their house, and then you never follow up, there's nothing else, right? It's just front end money. That's company A. But company B is, you might have a maintenance plan or something that you're always checking to make sure you provide intrinsic value and you actually care because you understand that water that they're drinking in your situation, it's being drunk by all the family members, the kids, everybody growing up, and you take pride in what you're selling and you actually care. And so the next time that person buys a house, well, guess what? They're just not going to Google to go look for who's going to put a water filtration system in their house. They're going to go directly to you. And when you deal with people who have that integrity, or even people, and you have situations where bad things happen in business, it's how you own it, how you respond to those things, right? And if that individual that you're doing business with doesn't have that same integrity, you need to go find somebody else. And if you're worried about price shopping out there, I'm not saying it's not an important factor, but when you're always worried about price shopping, you're going to get burned more than you're going to ever succeed in this world.
That's true. 100% true.
Yep.
And, the number one thing is when you walk in through the door of a potential customer prospect, even if you do not earn their business at that time, you walk right back out the door. I always hug them.
Absolutely.
Always hug them. Shake the husband's hand, hug the lady. I make them feel at that moment a part of our family.
Yep.
They will come back. We'll follow up with them, and we will end up get their business. And that's hard.
And even sometimes you might not get their business at first, but you've made such a profound impression on them at that time, right? That they might be at their children's football game or baseball game, sitting up in the stands with other family members, and someone's talking about getting a water, and you go, "Oh, I met the most amazing person. I think you need to contact them. We just didn't have the budget maybe for it at that time."
Right.
I don't have a card, but go look up JRC, right? And I think that what you're, not because you're doing this by intent, but I think what you're actually are accomplishing, you're branding yourself is what you're doing.
Yes, and that's all 100% true, is branding yourself. And it starts with your attitude.
It does.
It starts with your attitude. It starts, if I do not have a customer's attention, I count to 10. The moment I walk through that door, if I do not have their attention, I've lost it.
Yep.
I've lost it. That's how quick it is. Turn your cell phone off, give them your undivided attention.
That's right.
And, help them. If you see a package at the front door that Amazon dropped off, pick it up. Right. Go above and beyond. Even if you do not win them over as your client in the appointment, always text them. I'll always text, even if I didn't, or right before I leave the driveway, because I know not another person is going to take the time to do that. They're not. And that is powerful.
That's right. That's right. I want to talk about how faith has guided you through dark moments, when it felt like everything was stacked against you, and that maybe that you weren't going to be able to push through it, but you leaned on faith, you leaned on God. Can you elaborate on that a little bit and let us know how that has been your pillar?
Jake, from as early as I can remember, feeling lost, empty, unwanted, abandoned, insecurities out of the wazoo. I have laid in the bed countless nights crying to God and just begging him to not forget my name. And faith has been everything to me. And for if it wasn't for God and just letting me feel his presence when I didn't feel anyone there, I don't know where I'd be today. He
doesn't turn his back on you, that's for sure. He's the one individual outside of yourself that you can only count on. And sometimes we can't even count on ourselves, right? I tell people I make mistakes a lot of time, or I want to get up out of bed in the morning and go on my jog in the morning. And I go, man, I don't know. It's cold outside. It's warm in this bed right now. I don't know if I want to get up right now, So we let ourselves down, but that's one thing, God will never let us down.
100%. 100%.
I want to, who Alex Hormozy is?
No.
Okay. Look him up if you would. I think you really would like him, whether it be on TikTok or YouTube videos. A little bit about Alex Hormozy, if anyone doesn't know who that is. Alex Hormozy is a gym owner. He's real big into fitness and working out, but that's not where he made his money and his mark. He figured out the gym industry, and then he began to become a consultant for other gyms and tell them how they could make money and how they could expand. And then he built this large marketing platform. But it's not just the successes that he has in marketing. And the reason I like him is just some of the things he talks about. He's a very authentic guy. Okay. So I'm going to read some things here, and hopefully this kind of resonates with you a little bit. Okay. If you were to build the perfect person, you would make them go through adversity for growth. He emphasized that the strongest individuals are often those who have faced the hardest battles. It reminds me of a concept where someone speaks with God and says, I want to be courageous. And God responds, then I will give you monsters to terrify you. That way you can conquer them Or they ask, I want to be strong. And God says, I will give you challenges to overcome. Do you feel the struggles you faced were part of that path to building strength and faith? Do you feel like that is?
No doubt have I fought monsters away.
Yeah.
No doubt. Without God by my side, I don't know how Goliath would have been knocked down.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sucks, right? When you're going through that shit, you're going through hard things in life. It sucks. What I've learned myself, and I don't know if you've taken this tone or not, but what I've learned is when I'm going through struggles or I'm going through a very dark place in my life, I try to tell myself that for whatever reason, God wants me to go through this right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand the reason why, but I know that God has a better path for me. And as long as you keep your faith in God, right? And you believe in him and you know that he will see you through it, he will.
I believe that 100%.
You've spoken to God. You've spoken about the role that God has had with your healing and your journey. How has your faith been a source of strength when everything else seemed to be falling apart?
Well, being a business owner, having Matt there beside me as a business owner with me, my dream was to own a business with my husband. Mm-hmm. That was my dream. And my marriage was over, failing, over, dead, for a lot of different reasons. And this was about 3 years ago when we had the freeze that came in. And our leads were down, phones were down. And like, God, am I still in the aura of your limits, or am I overstepped my boundaries? Where do I need to go?
Yeah.
And so I was just so broken. And I'm laying in the bed praying. I just crying like a baby. Like, God, can you please show me a sign or something? Just let the water heater fall out of the attic, just something.
Yeah.
Went to bed, woke up the next morning, water heater's all there, still in the attic.
Yeah.
Like, okay, God. I mean, my eyes are swollen from crying. Not only was I down from feeling kind of bummed in the entrepreneurship world, but I still was longing for my soulmate.
Yeah, sure.
And felt empty there. And so there was this noise that kept banging, 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 banging. This is where I felt God's presence. And it might be silly to you guys, but for me, it was not silly. And I was just kind of in a funk. I'm like, what? And it's cold outside. Like, what is this noise? And I went out there to go see what this noise was. It was a shed door. It kept opening and shutting really strong. Uh-huh. So I went to go shut it. Behind my house, there's like a retention pond with these sprayers of fountains. And I walked back in the door and I caught the glimpse of it through the corner of my eye. And I turned back around and it was a rainbow in the water. Not in the sky, but in the water of the sprayer. I instantly just started crying. And thank you, God, for remembering my name. Thank you for your sign, just so I can remember that you're there. Not only that you're there, that I'm going to find my forever, that I'm not going to be alone, that everything is going to be okay. I've just gotten a moment in my head and let fear try to overcome me, and that fear is of the devil. Yeah. And just thank you so much for letting me be okay. And at that time, the words came to me, I have always been with you. Mm-hmm. And the flashbacks from John Kaufman, from way back when, to talking about Matt, to meeting Matt, And I had to stop at that moment, and I did a video, and I sent it to Matt, and I said, the dots are being they're connecting right now. Mm-hmm. He has had me from 1979, Jake. Mm-hmm. He's had me through all the shit that I've been through in life. He's had me. And I knew that he was going to bring me a person that I can tell anything to, that I can communicate to. I just felt so much peace at that time that I haven't felt in a long time. Yeah. From the rainbow in the water of all things. Yeah. And God already puts people in your path that you don't know you're going to need them or they're going to need you for a reason.
That's right. That's right. No, he, I think where we mess up sometimes and we think that God has abandoned us is he's just silent at that moment. He's observing. He knows what you can take. We sometimes don't think we can take anymore, but he knows.
He does.
And when we need him most, he's there. He's there. Your relationship you talked about earlier with John Kaufman and how transformational it was. What did that mentorship mean to you, both in business and in life?
John, at first, when I met him, I didn't know if I liked him or not. He is John is a big, tall, his hands are like a gorilla. He was a ball player, but John didn't have any kids, okay? And his mentorship to me at the time, we kind of butted heads a little bit on me learning water. John will tell it like it is. And I'm the kind of person, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I'll just kind of say it with kid gloves if I have to say anything, but John didn't care. His mentorship to me meant a lot because without him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Mm-hmm. And not only that, I learned that he's a big teddy bear, really inside. Yeah. And I still can pick up the phone and call him and talk to him when times get rough, or if I just need a moment, a refresher back to basics on something, and we'll role play. And just how he loves my kids and he loves me and he just wants the best for me. He's like, if you will, some sort of way, like a dad figure, you know? And so I'll forever be grateful for him.
That's beautiful. Crystal, I want to talk about something in regards to that, about the importance of mentorship. You know as well as I do that entrepreneurship is a lonely road. You're on I like to always say, you almost kind of feel like you're on an island by yourself oftentimes. It could be your significant other. It could be your friends. Most people that you associate with on a day-to-day basis, right? Your children, definitely, they don't understand, right? Most people, like I said, most spouses don't understand what their entrepreneur spouse does on a day-to-day basis. Their friends don't, and it's not that we try to, I don't think it's the sense that we think that we're better or we try to put ourselves on a pedestal. It's just a different dynamic altogether. And one that I always say that, like, my brain never shuts off.
No.
I'm always working in the business, even when I'm on vacation. Like, I can be out at the beach, right? And you feel almost inept, no matter how much success you have. You feel like you're missing something always.
Yeah.
And you're always trying to figure out a better way, how to run it more efficiently. I don't care. Like I said, if I could be on the beach, I can just be laying there, letting the sun rays hit me. And I'm thinking
so
about
true.
business though.
It's so true.
Like, my wife might roll over and look, she's, what are you thinking about? I was like, same shit I always think about,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's ideas, anything.
it just never goes away. And when you have a mentor, like you said, Mr. Kaufman, someone that you can lean on, I think that definitely helps. Someone who has went to battle, who understands what you're going through, at least on the entrepreneur side of things, and doesn't judge you, because you get vulnerable or you're thinking about something. Because if you don't have that person, that's where I think a lot of young entrepreneurs burn out. Because, I can tell you, after my divorce, before I was remarried, I dated a bunch of different girls, and they would always say, well, Jake, you own your own company. You never work. And that would be the first instant turnoff for me. Because you just don't know me then. If you don't think that I work, yes, my hours might change from time to time, but there's not a time that I'm not working.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it just, you get it. You understand that the person has to get you, and the individuals around you are far and few between. So having a mentor, having someone that you can confide in, that you can trust in, that will not judge you, not tell you the wrong thing, right? Will always shoot you straight. Sometimes you mentioned he can be a little rough around the edges, but that's honestly what you need. You don't need someone to placate you. Mm-hmm. You need someone who's going to tell you. So if you're going into entrepreneurship, if you're in entrepreneurship, I recommend you find you a mentor, even if it's not necessarily someone you can talk to, but you can align your life with someone who has reached those successes and kind of almost mimic them. I mean, if you think about basketball, Kobe Bryant mimicked himself after Michael Jordan, right? A lot of his game is very identical to how Jordan played. The same thing happens in entrepreneurship. There gets to be a point, and I know Grant Cardone said this, you quit taking advice from people who haven't walked in those shoes. Right?
Right. 100%.
Because they will, and it's not that they're trying to necessarily always tell you wrong. You just don't know. And sometimes it's like in my situation, every time I would tell my mom, I'm going to do, oh, Jake, I don't know why you're doing that. That just, I don't know. I just can't see it. I can't see that being.
You're so right.
And so many people listen to their parents about
Debbie Downers.
Debbie Downers.
They'll kill the idea in a minute.
Cut that shit out. Get it out of your life.
Yeah.
Not that you still can't have a relationship with that person, but not that type of a relationship.
Yeah. I mean, we as humans, we tend to let other people's opinions affect us.
Yep.
And get in the way of what could be really great.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe Rogan said this one time. He's like, insanity and greatness, they live next door to each other. One just borrows salt from the other. Like
it's
literally,
so
like it's true, right? You gotta be a little bit off your rocker, right? To go out there and put yourself out there and do shit other people aren't willing to do.
It is so true. And it's hard. I mean, knocking on doors, the hardest door to open is your car door.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that is the hardest door. However, even though I said we don't have to go back and do that, I like to do that every so often because it reminds me of the monster that's down here.
Yep. You've got, and like I said, you've got to push through. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's right.
You got to burn the boats.
Yep.
There ain't no one to save you.
No one's coming to save you.
You got to do it, right?
I'm going to tell you, if our phone stopped ringing, the phone stopped ringing, leads stopped coming in, referrals stopped referring, I'm back out there on the streets knocking on doors.
That's how I built my business. I beat the pavement. I had to get past the gatekeeper. I had to get to somebody, whoever the decision maker was for that company. Hey, let me prove my worth. Let me show you what I can do. If you're not happy, you don't have to pay me. But if you're happy, I'd love to forge a relationship for a long time. And along the way, you do get burned by some people. There are some shitty people out there that will burn you. But I met some amazing people along the way and are still with me to this day.
Yeah.
And so look, guys, you got to understand in entrepreneurship that, if you're a quarterback, you're going to throw some interceptions. You're going to have some incomplete passes. You just got to have more wins than you have losses. and then you're a success.
That's right.
That's what it is.
But without the losses,
That's
then
right.
we wouldn't know how to win.
That's right. That's right. Those losses are actually wins, believe it or not.
That's right.
Because you're learning from that. So JRC Home Solutions, isn't just about business. It's a calling for you. Tell everybody out there how you lead and how you inspire your team.
So, is how I lead the team is through determination.
Mm-hmm.
I have, through my career, I've had 2 neck surgeries. Okay. I don't even know if you know this or not.
I do not.
So
no.
C2 through 5, I have disc replacements. 5 through 7 is fusion.
That's tough.
And still in pain, like incredible pain, having to work through that and in homes, knowing that if you do not make this transaction and through pain, like bad pain, and you're keep a smile on your face and still engaging in with your customer.
Yep.
In the back of my mind's like, get through this shit so we can get this customer and we can just keep on going along. I would work down to the nitty gritty before surgery and then get right back up. It's tough. The surgery is tough. I think that the team has looked at me through the dedication and the drive, what it's taken to get where I'm at. And not only that, they are so amazing. Matt, Angie, Kay, Jonathan, and Connor. And also we're getting to where we're bringing in more people for the summer. They see that in me. And they also take on, adapt to that relationship, their own self. Because when I'm down, they carry.
Love it.
And that is huge. You have to have someone that you can trust. Because, this is your baby, right? And it's hard to let your baby go. It's hard.
It is nearly impossible.
It's hard. I mean, it's not that I don't think we ever will. But thinking at nighttime on what we could be doing or kind of trying to do something better when you know that the other person's already done it, it's like you're kind of looking, okay, is this done right? You know what I mean? I don't know how to overcome that.
I want to ask you something. When you started entrepreneurship, I know myself, I always had like this end goal, right? Like once my assets are this, then I can retire and da da da. As I've been at this journey now for 16, 17, 18 years, I don't even know. I'd have to go back and been doing it for so long. I guess 2006 was when I broke off. So
wow,
we're 25 now. So 19 years, I guess that's what that is.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't think I'll ever walk away completely. I don't think that my brain will allow me to, because like you said, it's your baby and you care. And I think that I'm just the type of person, and I'm sure if you're not there yet, you're manifesting towards it. It will happen. I understand those people that I understand the mattress Mac now. Right?
Right.
Who just had heart surgery.
And just right back in there.
And just right back in there, right? It's not about money. I used to think back in the day, like, dude, you've made enough money. Like that's good enough, right? It's not about the money. And for me, it's the same way. It's not about the money anymore. It's and I'm not saying that to sound slighted toward it. It's just I love coming to work every day.
It's because you care. And Jake, I also want to say that you're rare. Okay, you're very rare as a business owner, and you're rare as a leader because you care. I witnessed it myself.
Well, thank you.
When I walked in here and the girls were in the office over here talking, and you came in and you spoke to every single one of them. You put your arm around one shoulder. You don't find that, and you care, and these girls love you. They love to work for you, and I just want to tell you thank you for being an example to me. And I have a huge heart. It gets me in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so talking to other business owners and entrepreneurs coming from being top charts of sales and then leaving that world to where you're nationally recognized to opening up your own company to where you're on the island by yourself is very scary.
It is.
So I don't tell anyone that I'm the owner at JRC because I don't look at myself that way, right? I'm just a water technician, but I love everyone in our office and everyone who comes to us as a customer. I see that in you.
Yep.
You have a very big heart.
Yep. No, for sure. I think so. You know, you feel it as well that you're the same type of individual, right? It's no longer about the money. It's about
the people.
The people making a difference.
It's about the people.
I always say that, you know, how will I define my life? Will it be the cars that I have? Will it be the house that I have? The vacations I've taken? Yeah, all that shit's nice. But when God put me here on earth, and then when it's my time to leave, when my expiration date is here, have I made this place a better place?
I saw it.
And if I can't say with the resounding yes that occurred, then I fucked up somewhere along the way.
Well,
you know? And so I think that that's how us as entrepreneurs, we have to tackle life and how we have to do things.
Absolutely. But I saw that you're leaving a great legacy.
Well, thank you.
You care about your employees here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've ranked in the top 10 water treatment leaders multiple times. That's tough.
It was very hard. It's the reason why I had some surgeries.
What personal sacrifices have you made along the way? Because look, let's be honest, we do. Even whether it be for family, with our kids, we do. We make sacrifices.
Skipped many parties. Many parties.
Yeah.
I've lost some friends along the way, which is probably good, you know. Holidays. I worked the day before Thanksgiving was a hot sales day, believe it or not. Sometimes on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve worked. I made a transaction on Christmas Day before to one of my best friends. I don't know, it's kind of cheating, I guess. Yeah. It's one of my best friends.
No, so you know what? I'll be honest with you. Some of my clients are my best friends to this day. Not because I monetarily am rewarded for that friendship. I actually care about them and their families.
Right.
And you understand, and they know that.
Right.
And so they could text me, call me anytime, and we'll do whatever we need to do. And so it's an honor.
Yeah,
honestly.
it is. It is an honor for your best friend to trust into you,
Yep.
you know, to gain them as a customer, right? Yeah. The hardest thing, and this is where it would turn for me to be a business owner, is missing my kids' school events.
Yeah.
That was the hardest. I remember my son was probably 10, 11 years old playing baseball, and I was on my way to an appointment. I had a gap in between, and I set my mat right there at the ball field so it could tell me when to leave so I could get there on time.
Yep.
And I put my hands on the chain link fence, put my mouth through. I said, Grayson. He turned and looked at me. I said, bye. I love you. And you could just see it. And I cried all the way to that appointment.
Yeah.
But there was nothing that I could do other than keep my head down and sell, because no one was coming to save me.
Yep.
No one was feeding me, you know, with the silver spoon.
Yep.
There was no one leaving me with an inheritance. Nothing. No one was going to, you know, hand me a company. No one cared.
No.
But me. So that is the sacrifices that I've made. And when my oldest daughter, Kirsten, graduated, I didn't really know what to write in her card other than, proud of you, you did it. My middle daughter, Jessie, when she graduated, same thing. The girls sacrificed a lot. I've had more time with Grayson now being a business owner, JRC, because I do have a wonderful team behind me.
Yep.
It all is about your people
that
will understand and love me enough to let me go and, be with my kids or take my kid to the doctor, whatever I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of sacrifices that you make to get to where you are. And I want to back up on something that you were saying about how, you were in a relationship, someone like, well, you own your own company. I mean, you are the one that has to keep the doors open.
That's right.
And you are the one that has to understand that no matter what, if everybody just says, okay, I don't want to work for you anymore, you got to keep going. You can't pause for a long time. If you do, it's for a minute, and you and I are like, we're still going.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important to find your lifelong forever to understand you completely. And that's when I met, God gave me Colin.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Let me ask you this for 1 second. I think the thing that gets lost from entrepreneurs when we have to make those sacrifices, and spend less time with our family during that and miss some of the things, we feel like such a bad parent. We carry those burdens on that. And sometimes even it can be very hurtful for the children as well. But I think back, and in a sense, kind of like God did for us, he's hardening them a little bit, right? We're also a role model for our children, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And I remember, like I told you, my dad was my best friend, hardest working man I've ever known in my entire life. Like he worked for, it was Amoco back in the day that he worked for, and then it converted to BP when BP bought him out. And for over 10 years, he was given the award for the most worked overtime guy. Every single year, he would be sick, he would be at work, whatever it took. He never turned down a day of overtime. That way, so we could have a better life. He sacrificed his happiness for us to have some luxuries and to have some decent things. And I remember certain times I would get kind of frustrated, right? That, I played baseball growing up and played high school, college baseball, and semi-pro ball. And I remember, Dad was there trying to coach. He was always like an assistant coach. He couldn't be the head coach because he worked so much. But I remember even he'd come home, he would try to throw with me a little bit, but it would turn dark so quickly. So I wasn't able to get in what I wanted to get in, right? And I used to get kind of frustrated as a kid, right? But as I've grown up and matured and become an adult, and I realized the sacrifices he was making, that was what true love is. And so while maybe they weren't there at that time, that is the true love that they're sacrificing. So
100%. We do it for our kids.
Yep.
Do it for our kids, and your dad did it for you.
Yep.
And we do it for our kids.
Yep.
He was disciplined.
Yeah. Yeah. You know who Jocko Willenick is? Yeah. So you know the saying that discipline equals freedom?
It does.
That was the reason I went into entrepreneurship at first. I remember working in corporate America, and I worked for BP for a while. I was a chemical operative before I went back to school. And then I also worked at Total as a senior tax director over there. And I remember both times I went there to go work at those institutions, there was a downsizing. And so while it's illegal to let employees go due to age discrimination, they do it. They find a way around it. Okay. And I remember, going to work at these places. And first of all, I remember the first one so vividly when I was at BP, because I hired in at 20. And I remember that 4.5 months working there, I hadn't even passed my 6-month probation. And they had a massive layoff because there was a merger between BP and Amoco at the time. And I remember guys that were in their 50s and they were planning for retirement at some point were having to take severance packages and having to leave. They being basically forced out. They were qualified in every job. I wasn't qualified in any jobs, and they were keeping me. And I felt like, just to myself, how unjust that was. At 20 years of age, I was like, I can go find another job. Not a big deal. I'm young. But I realized, and that really made a profound impact on my life that I never wanted someone else to be the decision maker for my success. Because I saw how it impacted all of these men that were let go because of their age, because they had 6 weeks of vacation, they were more sick. You know, they would push back against management. Where I was young, I was going to do whatever they told me to do, right? Gave me 2 weeks of vacation, you know? So I remember that, and I always said that I want to make sure that I have the freedom and the ability to make my decisions, and those decisions are the ones that are going to define my successes in life. Can you elaborate on
Yes,
that?
so true. Everything you said was so true. Very parallel with mine. Watching my son leave his game, crying on the way to sales appointment. You know, whenever you're top of the charts in sales, we all have stuff going on in our personal life.
Yep.
Every single one of us. But we have to shut it off, the light switch mentality, in the car, shake it off, go in there with a smile like you are the best thing since sliced bread to that potential customer. And never bring any dirty laundry in their house or even a frown, nothing. But it's so true. Leaving the baseball game, going to the appointment, I was crying, and I just started reflecting on what I was doing in life. And the reason why I was doing what I was doing is for my kids. Everything for my kids. What made me to be so determined? I would have sticky notes in my car, sticky notes on the mirror. I was in huge, I'm talking worldwide contest. No one in Houston was on my level. There was one other person, maybe two, that ranked top 10, but I really didn't have to worry about them. Okay. It was in Austin, California, Canada, and New York that we had a dashboard that we look at every morning to see nationally where the other salesmen were ranked at. And I'm like, shit. They got more points than me. I've got to work harder, right? And then you win a lot of money, you win this, win that, and it just becomes a drug, okay? So I would keep the vision of what I wanted. I mean, at this time, it was a big house, Audis, this and that. But then the moment hit me going to that appointment, I didn't want to do this anymore. I was around sales ladies and salesmen that had been doing this way longer than me, still working for the same company, carrying their kit in the sales meetings, holding their neck, their shoulders, and they're pissed off. They're grumpy. They're pissed off. They're not happy. They're not happy. They're moody, and I'm thinking they're coming in here in the sales room like this. I could only imagine how they are in the house, not to mention their home, what that's like. And I cried to God, like, how can I get out of this? Like, I've got myself stuck. Now I'm making an X amount of dollars, and I have to keep making X amount of dollars, literally trapped to keep my lifestyle afloat. Okay. And so how am I going to go from here to where I'm at now? And it was by the grace of God, by Matt, John, just the people that came in to help JRC to get to where we are. And I was like, you know what? I took all my 401k and I cashed to put all the eggs in one basket and just prayed to God. And that's how we are where we're at, because there was no turning back.
Failure was not an option.
It was not an option.
Mentioned it earlier, and I know you know who David Goggins is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Can't hurt me, you know.
Can't hurt me.
Let's talk about your book that you're working on, Stranded Diamonds.
Stranded Diamonds.
Love the name, by the way.
My son named it.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did. My daughter moved, my middle daughter, Jessie, she moved to California, San Diego, and was on a group text with my oldest daughter, Jessie and Grayson. we all text, and Grayson named it Stranded Diamonds.
I love it. I love it. Well, I hope you think of me when you finish writing it, because I want to be one of the first ones that know when it's out there. I want to buy that book. So
it will be top of the charts.
I'd love to read that.
So I'm halfway there.
Okay.
Okay. So it's pretty.
I want to know. I want to know. Once you shoot me an email,
I have
call me or
people
whatever.
like, when you're going to write the next chapter, you leave me hanging.
What inspired you to write it? Because people go through a lot of shit in life, and they don't. Like I say, it's just so compelling that you're willing to talk about everything, even today. And then obviously you're writing this book. What compelled you to do that? So
many along the way that I have told my story to are just in awe of where, if you were to see where I came from, like my mother, like some people even said, I can't believe that you're her daughter. And not being ugly by no means. She was a hitchhiker, No. And I can imagine the hurt that she carried.
Yeah.
And if someone came along the way to be her inspiration, maybe it would have been a little different for me.
Yeah.
And maybe break the cycle. So if I can get my story out there to all of the boys and girls homes to give them hope, who cares that you're there? Get yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Who no one cares. No one cared that I was raped. No one cared that I didn't have a dad. No one cared that I met my mom when I was 8. No one cared but me. I cared.
Yeah.
But no one else cared. So who cares? So what? It happened to you. Get over it and let's go on. That's my mentality. I know it sounds a little tough, but that's my mentality even as a mother. Mm-hmm. Okay. It happened to you for a reason. Let's figure it out, learn from it, and don't make the same mistake twice. Okay. Yeah. And I have went through 3 marriages. Okay. And the first one is through survival mode. Mm-hmm. Only know he's the father of all 3 of my children. Uh-huh. And I only met him through the Pentecostal church, and I've only known him maybe 6 months. Got married. He didn't have a car. I did. He had a house. I was tired. I was literally moving house to house with black trash bags. Mm-hmm. And I just my soul was tired.
Okay.
And so I had, 3 kids, was married to him for 15 years. I mean, I honestly, I knew that there was more to life out there, how to get out. My second marriage was a silver lining in my pathway to help me get on the right track. Uh-huh. Okay. We grew apart. Third one went by like just by. And then I thought, I who would want to marry someone's been married 3 times? Like, I'm a common denominator in this situation,
Sure.
So that's whenever I met Colin, like you mentioned about dating around, and dating out there at my age.
It sucks ass, doesn't it?
It does. It sucks. I mean, you got so many different ones, and then you become, it started taking me away from my path. Started taking me away from what I'm supposed to be doing.
Your partner has to add value.
Oh, yeah.
To your relationship. And if they're not adding value, they're taking value away.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I was even remotely interested in any of them, because as we would go on dates, I would talk, and then I'm like thinking to myself, what am I doing here? I should be back at my computer doing something, learning more, growing, and promoting the company.
You didn't have that personal connection.
Right.
Yep.
And so Colin, I met him organically and ran into him through some friends, and I was kind of like having a hot flash. I don't know what was going on with me, but he started fanning me. We took him in, he started fanning me. I was like, this is different. But the greatest thing I could say about this is the communication. He has taught me how to communicate more, because throughout the failed marriages, I kept it in here.
Yeah.
Because that's how I've always done. Mm-hmm. But as far as writing the book, he has pushed me, okay, because I stopped. You know, when you go through things, right?
Yeah.
And I've already paid my publisher. It's already done deal, right?
Nice.
And Ken Walls, if you're ever going to listen to this, it's coming, okay? So Ken Walls is the publisher. He's been on me about it. So Colin has been there to push me. So you have to have a cheerleader, right? And so Matt has been there, you know, to where through the rough days of dating, pick up the slack, you know, and Angie, just different ones. And I'm just so thankful to be out of that. And you finally find your peace, your soul's resting.
Yep. Yeah. And we talked about finding your tribe, at, you know, at your business, but finding your tribe with your significant other is just as important, if not more important, you know, because, you know, one of the terminologies I always say is, you're the 5 people you hang out with the most. So you better choose those 5 people wisely. And if you are married or you're dating somebody, one of those 5 people is your significant other. I can't tell you how many times you'll see an individual that is wanting to level up here and they'll find themselves with someone down here. And I promise you, one of 2 things happens in that relationship. Either that gravity of that person that's down here pulls them so severely they're going to fall off the track that they're going, or they're going to detach. It's one or the other, right? There's not any of this happy medium shit. Either that person will pull them down to their level, or they will have to just break the chains and move
you're
on.
so right. I mean, through a couple of the marriages, I felt trapped.
Yeah.
And I felt like and the fire was still burning.
Yep.
And I didn't understand how to be me.
Yep.
And get it out, right? Other than turn the light switch off.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You want to place a book or this book in all boys and girls' homes in the world. What do you hope that child walks away feeling after reading your book? Inspired
No matter all the hell that they've endured in their lifetime, inspired to know that there's hope out there.
I think that kind of aligns into, you know, you coming on the podcast today, because a lot of people ask me, you know, when I was creating this podcast, why I was creating it. And one of the first reasons that came to mind was inspiration. I want to be inspirational for people. But along the way, one of the things that, and I love that you came on the show, because I think that you have one of the most impactful stories to tell, if not the most impactful, that people that are successful, it's not all rosy goggles all the time. We went through some shit in life, okay? And Crystal has shared a lot of what she's went through today. And so what I want people to realize and come from this, and I'm sure you do with your book as well, is that if you're going through that crap and it's sucking, just understand that if you keep your faith in God and keep forging ahead, you will get through it. And you're not the only person to go through it. So I think that it is inspirational when people can hear all the struggles that you've had to go through. And when they read your book about all the struggles in your book, and hopefully there's a relatability factor for those people to go, I can relate to this. I can relate to that. And if Crystal can do it, I can do it.
You know, I hope that once they listen to this podcast or read Stranded Diamonds, that it gives whomever out there that's struggling, even being in sales or in your work environment, struggling with marriages. Not everyone's going to come on to your show, Jake, and say they've had 3 failed marriages. Okay?
Most people aren't, no.
Or they've been raped or this or that. But just know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And because we are all humans and we're just all still striving to be who we think we should be. But if you have a fire lit there and you know that you should be something more, but XYZ is holding you back, cut it out. Cut it out. And that's what I want the story to help you to do.
Yeah. I want people to also understand, and you mentioned the burning fire in the belly. If you have that burning fire, and you don't act upon it, you're doing yourself an injustice. You're doing God an injustice as well. Because realize that is a gift that God has bestowed upon you.
And it's very, like we mentioned, it's very hard. Like, just because we own businesses, our society looks at us as we're rich.
Or greedy and all
Or
this.
we're rich, we don't really work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I work all the time. You know, I know you work all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think there's a number in money. It's about the people.
It is.
It's about helping people. Mm-hmm. And if you have that servant's heart and helping people, then you can't go wrong.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're serving God. When you're doing this, you're serving the people. Let's talk about your time that you spend at the girls' home and your volunteering time there. Can you tell everybody out there how that has helped with your healing process?
I'm going to be 100% transparent with you.
Yeah.
It still hurts.
Yeah, I can tell.
It still hurts. But I still hurt from feeling like I was robbed of my childhood.
Yeah, you were.
And still have like angry that happened to me, but I'm very thankful. I'm not talking about thankful that the rape happened, but I'm very thankful that I grew up the way I did, because there would not be a me today sitting here telling you how to get through all of this. I don't know how I truly kept a good head on my shoulders to get through. If it was not one thing, it was another, over and over and over and over. I mean, one obstacle after another. And to a point to where I just didn't even know at one point in my life if I even wanted to wake up anymore. I was just that tired.
Yeah.
But I am here to tell you, to say that if you stay grounded and you keep yourself reminded of your end result, then work is irrelevant to you.
That's right.
So you have to keep your mind on the end result, wherever you may want to go or do or be. And then work is just going to just go by.
This is not something we talked about, but you know, oftentimes when we're doing these, or I feel the need to kind of pivot a little bit and things that kind of pop into my mind. But one of the things that always pops into my mind, and I hear people say all the time that I tell everybody, I tell my daughter, she's 16, she doesn't know what she wants to do. And I say, honey, you need to be an entrepreneur. And she goes, well, Daddy, I know that's what you are, and da-da-da-da. And I said, well, I want you to understand, like, I don't care what field you go into. But the reason I say I want you to be an entrepreneur is because I want you to control your destiny. It is a different feeling. It is a different love. And I think what people get hung up on all too often is they say, well, I don't know what I want to do. I'm not in love with any one field. I don't love this. I don't love that. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't love accounting. Okay. I don't love taxes. I mean, I can do them in my sleep. There's nothing about it that gets me excited. But you know what I do love?
Being a dad.
I do. Yes, of course. That's my number one. But outside of that, in this field, my number one thing is I love the people. I love serving. I love helping people. And believe it or not, financial literacy in America is complete fucking garbage. I'm going to say it just like that. The shit they teach us in school, I mean, look, man, I've got 6 degrees, okay? 6 college degrees. And I'm not saying that to boast. But you know how many classes I took over that time that were a complete fucking waste?
A lot.
Okay.
Probably 6.
I mean, I don't know how many college hours I have, 250, 280, maybe 300.
Probably 250 college hours.
and so the point I'm making is for me, it is teaching people financial literacy, helping people out, helping young entrepreneurs, helping business owners take those next steps in their business. Understanding, pulling back the curtain, understanding what the finances are and what they actually mean, right? Understanding what your burn rate is, all these different things, right? That if you don't understand what these things are, you could be bankrupt tomorrow. To me, that's what I love. I love the ability to serve and to help people and to pull back that curtain. So what I want everyone to understand is find what your love is, what you enjoy doing, and then go find an industry where you can do what you love within that industry, rather than finding the industry being the thing that you love. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
That's so true. That is so true. And that's exactly what I did with water.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you didn't wake up one day and go, I just love water. Instead of water,
No, I mean, I ended up loving the people.
Yeah.
Every home was different. I could tell you whenever there were a couple times, maybe more than a couple, knocking on the door that the husband and wife just got into a knockdown, drag out fight, and then they're pretending, in front of me.
Yeah.
But everyone has a story, either they're terminally ill or, just someone died. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat at a table with my customers and we didn't even really talk about water. They just needed someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And it was just like God brought me there to hear their story for me.
Yeah.
Not me for them.
That's right.
Or vice versa.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
It's the people.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a mother of 3 and soon to be a bonus mom to 2 more. First and foremost, I didn't think I got to congratulate you personally, but that's amazing.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. I met Colin the other day. Such a wonderful gentleman.
He is.
And I could tell when I sat across the table by him right there that he had your best interest at heart, that he was overseeing things. He was there supporting you to make sure that you were getting what you need to do. And that resonated with me. So you've got a good one there.
Thank you. I'm making a little emotional about this one. When I first met Colin, I didn't know if he was not my type at all, right? And he was very handsome, but I'm just like the brawny man. Seems like that was my type. I don't know. But it happened at the moment at the fan. Mm-hmm. He was just different. And how he was just engaging and caring and just always making sure that I was okay from the very beginning. And how I am as a mom and a business owner, how am I going to develop a relationship through all of this, right? And balance it all out. He was very understanding. And that was huge for me. And so balancing out being a business owner, a mom, is hard. It's very hard. Not to mention about to be a wife, but I would have never, ever gave it a second thought if I didn't have someone who was supportive and understanding and has got my back no matter what. It's going to go pick up parts for me, whatever, whatever. I mean, he's there. And it's really hard to balance out because we have the society, the public pulling on us all day long.
Yep.
Phones going crazy, cell phone going crazy, email going crazy. And God forbid if your kid was a call in the middle of all that really needed, hey, Mom, can you put some lunch money on my account? And you're like, oh, my God. At that moment, you kind of get aggravated because you don't have time to stop and do that. Why didn't you tell me yesterday, right? Or last night?
You lash out at the loved ones.
Correct.
Yep.
You lash out at the loved ones. But I've learned how to take a couple deep breaths, and just deliver it with love, you know. Yeah. But it's very difficult to balance it out. But I'm very thankful that I have Colin. He literally will put me in check.
Love that.
Literally will put me in check. I mean, in front of everyone.
I'm guessing you need that from time to time.
100%. One of my best friends, Boris, he said, Crystal, whoever you get with, you have to have someone put you in check because that's just who you need. I'm like, what? The first time it was kind of stung a little bit. It's spicy,
it
was a little spicy. And I'm like, oh gosh. But it comes with a lot of love.
Of course.
And I'm going to tell you, he's it. He's my forever.
I love it. It's ironic. You're very, this is what I pick up. You're very type A, a lot like me in this regard, right? You're go, get shit done. Don't want to hear any excuses for it. And when you have someone like Colin to kind of put you in your place and be like, hey, slow your roll just a little bit, right? Like that. It's an ego buster a little bit, you're like, what? And what did you just say? And we have to kind of check our own self internally, right? Because they're not doing it out of disdain or trying to hurt us in any regard. My wife does it sometimes to me, and I'm like, she said something to me last night even, and I was just like, who do you think you're talking to right now with that tone? Like, and I think more than anything, it's just she's very assertive like that. It's just, and I need that as well. I need that someone to put me in check too. So it resonates with me that what Colin's doing there, and you sit there and it's you got to check your ego at the door along the way, right?
He's a good one.
I could tell. Let me ask you this real quick: how crucial is faith in your day-to-day operations and decision making?
Without faith or God, and God giving me his token of love, there would not be any day-to-day operations.
There's a little saying that I always say is I always put God first in everything. And I always say, if I find myself in a compromising situation and I ask myself, should I be doing this or should I not be doing this? The first question I ask, would God be happy with me with this decision I'm about to make? If I ever feel, the kind of flutters in your stomach, like, should I really be doing this right now? And sometimes you teeter on that. We're human, right? I say, would God be happy with the decision I'm about to make? And then the second question I ask, would my family be happy with this decision I'm about to make? And if I can't have a resounding yes, like immediately, if there's any hesitation, I shouldn't be doing it.
That's true, 100%, because you feel it, I mean, I'm sorry, but all the ones in prison that are there, if they haven't felt it before they done it to make that decision, they knew it.
Yep, absolutely.
And if they didn't, they needed to be there then.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about legacy for a second. What type of legacy you want to leave behind? Not just for your children, but for your community and basically your story, right? Like, how do you want your legacy to be read? When your expiration date will hit at some point, what do you want your legacy to state?
I want to leave behind a legend of hope, determination. If she could do it, I could do it. Massive inspiration for all the ones that have been in poverty, that have felt like they had no one to lean on. Jake, the pain of not feeling fulfilled by having a father.
I think it's everything.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's everything you want.
It's
not
hard.
Just that one. It's everything,
I don't think I've ever gotten to mourn that, actually, tell you the truth, because I've heard so many stories about that. But the legacy I would like to leave behind is to be your own father, be your own mother, be your own savior, be through Christ. But just show the world that you can do it no matter what. No matter all the garbage in the deck of cards wasn't that great for you. Just put them all together in the way that you want it to be, and just make sure that you leave something behind for your children. So the legacy that I would like to leave behind is building something great left behind for my kids that I never had. Yeah. And that's really all that I want to do. every time it's my birthday or Mother's Day, what have you, my kids ask me, what do you want? I want a handwritten letter. Not a card. Don't go to Kroger and buy me a card.
Nope.
Handwritten letter. They are all different, but they all say one thing. You're my inspiration, Mom. I can already see the legacy being built.
Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can. Let me ask you this. What's the hardest truth about entrepreneurship that nobody wants to talk about?
Lord, there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. We could go really deep in this one. I mean, the hardest part is for one, at first, is going to be getting up in the morning, like you're going to work, and you really don't know where you're going. Is getting up and getting dressed and always be ready to go. And you have to go after, because you probably won't have any leads to go on. I remember starting out, the calendar was blank. And so you have to want it as bad as you need air to breathe.
That's right.
And
Dr.
if you don't want it that badly, then it's not for you. You need to go work for someone.
That's right.
It's like, do this or die. And it's getting up out of bed, and you have to be that disciplined.
It has to be a priority in your life. And it's going to sound bad when I say this, but it has to be one of the top priorities in your life.
Oh yeah. That's
like,
it.
Like it's got to be, like Crystal was alluding to, it's sink or swim.
100%.
You got to do it. No one's there to save you. We can keep saying these sayings all along, burn the boats, all that kind of stuff, but that shit's real. And the reason we say that, and the reason that it resonates in so much when you have your guest speakers like David Goggins and whatnot, is because it's true.
It is true. And another thing is whenever one may say they're a business owner and they boast about it and they brag about it and their head gets too swollen because they're a business owner, well, they could brag about it all they want, but how much business do they really have? You know?
Right. That's right.
So you just stay humbled and just go out there and get the work. It'll come to you, and your heart always has to be right.
That's right.
Always.
That's right. That's right. Now, it can't. If the reason you're going into entrepreneurship is strictly monetarily, it won't last. It won't last. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's going to be just like the scenario I told you, company A versus company B. You're going to be company A because you're worried about what I call front end money. It's the end game. It's it's the lasting relationships. It's embracing the journey. Because the journey is the most important. When we lay on our deathbed, right? If we have that opportunity to be able to sit back and reflect, we're not thinking about the cars we're driving. We're not thinking about the big house that we have. We're not thinking about the lavish vacations. We're thinking about the hard times that we've had to push through that maybe we overcomplicated and didn't think we'd be able to see it through, and it worked out and we pushed through it. We're thinking about the relationships that we form over that time, the way we've changed people's lives, the way people has changed our lives. Because sometimes it's a little greedy, right? Sometimes I can be a little greedy in that regard. Sometimes I get more out of it, being able to help them or them helping me, right?
That's right. That's 100%.
And I think probably what you're seeing with some of this is there's been a little bit of therapeutic healing as well along the way.
Helping others helped me, if you will, even love myself.
I can believe that. I can 100% believe that. Yeah. If you could go back in time and you could whisper one thing to yourself at 14 years of age, what would that be?
I've been asked this question before, and I took some time to think about it. I would whisper to myself, don't worry, you're going to be your own Superman one day. You just don't know it. And you're going to rise out of all this hell that you're in. It was very hard. And if I had known back then that I would be here today, maybe I would have had a little bit less crying nights. Not too sure. but I'm so thankful. So very thankful.
What's one quote or scripture that you would say that has helped you through some of your most difficult times?
I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, is my favorite scripture. And the quote is to crave the results so intensely that work doesn't matter. And that's Tim Grover, one of my favorite people.
I love Tim Grover. Yeah. You've got to be obsessed with what you're doing.
Oh yes, like if you haven't went to a conference like the growth conferences, spending money, investing in yourself, it's the greatest thing that you could ever do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You've got to get obsessed with it. You've got to get to a point where you love the growth side of things. Like I love growing business. In a weird sense, it's a drug for me.
And I love that I ran into you and your wonderful ladies here, because having this last meeting that we had, I felt your heart so big, Jake, because I was just like feeling so alone in my path, because we don't really have anyone to talk to, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And just your words of wisdom, it was priceless. And I want to tell you, thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I think what you see with me, and I think you're the same way, I think that it's authenticity. It's not prescripted. There's subject matters that we talk about or questions that you came on the show to talk about today. And we like to keep things on track, but what we talk about is certainly, not written down and read off a teleprompter. We're speaking from the heart.
Right.
And I always, getting back to kind of a little bit ago when you talked about, how you foster your tribe at your company. We have our little spark sessions in the mornings and we have our meetings. People ask me sometimes, like, did you write some shit on that and stay up? And I go, I don't write anything.
Yeah.
Like I really don't, right? It's just, I like to listen to people honestly and see where they're at in their dynamic and what value can I add to them. And so when we have our meetings in the morning, I think the reason it works so well is because, it's not prescripted. It's authentic.
I can't stand meeting notes.
Yeah, I can't either. I get nothing out of that.
Yeah. 100%.
If you had to choose one word to describe your journey, what would that word be and why that word?
I know this sounds so cliche, but it's hard. It was hard. Life was hard for me. It was hard for my sister. It was hard for a lot of people in my blood family. Mm-hmm. Some made it and some didn't. I had a couple of cousins that, just committed suicide. Mm. I, at one time back in the day, just thought life would just be better. The earth would be better without me in it. I was bullied really bad in school. And it was just hard just living like I lived.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not always, rosy goggles or flowers in your garden, right? You go through some very dark times. Every entrepreneur does. What's the most taboo topic in entrepreneurship that you think people are afraid to address?
I like this question because if you are a true entrepreneur, mm-hmm. you'll understand what I'm talking about. And you may not want to admit it, but it's a dark side. We all have it. Mm-hmm. We all have it. And this is going to be way taboo, either because we are trained as robots to work hard mm-hmm. and hold your head down. And we have our mentors banging mm-hmm. into our heads, beating in work, which we know. Mm-hmm. But there comes a time that we may want to go to the dark side and just be a human for a minute.
Yeah.
Like either you might be a freak in the sheets, you know, or you might drink a little too much, like binge drinking. And then you might have your drug of choice, which whatever that may be, maybe coffee, Red Bull. I have no idea. But every entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, has a dark side.
They have their demons.
They're also lacking and missing happiness, true happiness, maybe love for themselves. Communication. Communication is huge. It breaks a lot of marriages and relationships because we do not know how to communicate to our loved ones properly. Because we are great communicators for work and get the accolades and just like keep communicating to our people and our society so we can make money. But we shut it off when we get home because we don't want to talk anymore. We've talked all day long. We answered emails all day long. And then we really should be talking and communicating to the ones that we love the most.
That resonates to me. Many times I'll come home and my wife will want to tell me about her day. And I listen to the best of my ability.
But you're really not. I'm
really not sometimes. And I feel like a bad spouse. And then she'll ask me, well, what did you do today? And I don't even want to talk about it. Honestly, like I've already exhausted everything. I don't want to rehash it. I don't want to relive it. It's
because you got to pick it back up tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no point in it. And I remember her and I had a disagreement one time, and she says, how come you didn't tell me about this, or you didn't tell me about that? She finds out through somebody up here at work, and I go, well, what's the point? Like I just dealt with it. I handled it. You didn't share it with me, and you don't do it out of a lack of love. I just handled it. It's just part of what I do.
You just don't want to talk about it anymore.
No,
it's exhausting.
Yep.
You handled it. You're tired.
Yep.
And you go home. You don't even want to talk about work at all.
No.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But one thing that I've noticed that I've changed with Colin, because he is making me see, is he will drag it out of me and make me communicate with him, which I needed.
Yeah, I see that. I can see that. There's a lot of taboo topics out there. And what we both alluded to earlier with what people see on social media is not always what is happening behind the scenes. If anyone walks into our office here, and you've probably seen that picture that I have out there that is like this boulder that's coming up out of the water, right? And it's talking about what it takes for success. What most people see is they just see that boulder or that iceberg above that water. They don't see everything else that's below that. And along that way, there's some dark sides. There's some things that we have to push through, just understand. And I want everyone to understand some of the things that Crystal talked about today. We're humans. We put our socks on one foot at a time, one shoe at a time. We're no different. Okay. We just learn to cope, and we learn to deal with situations in a different capacity than other people. And I think that is one of the reasons that we are successful as entrepreneurs. But that burning desire never goes away. You never put it out. And if you have that burning desire, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to God, that He has entrusted that upon you to make a difference in people's lives. And that's what I would challenge every single listener out there to do, is to, how can they serve God best? How can they serve their community the best? And to change people's lives in a positive manner.
Amen. I believe it 100%.
Crystal, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
And in the future, I'd like to have you back on again, if you're okay with that.
Let's do it.
If you're looking for water filtration and you're in Montgomery County or even Harris County, any of the surrounding communities, Crystal Jones right here from JRC Home Solutions.
Yeah, H2O lady.
H2O lady. That's right. You're not just buying a water filtration system when you do business with her. You're part of her family. And I think that if you're worried about the contaminants and the things that you drink and you're looking for that system, I don't think you can find a better person to do business with. I really don't.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the show today. And thank you guys for listening. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.